This video is sponsored by Squarespace. There are many great action-adventure video game series, like Assassin's Creed.
I watch them fight and die in the name of freedom.
Tomb Raider. And The Legend of Zelda.
Everything I've done up until now, it was all for nothing.
But few are as consistently brilliant or as well-rounded as a certain franchise developed by Naughty Dog. And no, I don't mean Crash Bandicoot. The Last of Us.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
Or Jak and Daxter, although admittedly, they're all fantastic too.
You talking to me?
Yeah, you talking to him?
Instead, it's time for one of the most beloved gaming franchises in the world that even has its own blockbuster movie.
On any map. They're not gone. They're just lost.
This is the evolution of Uncharted. After its success with Crash Bandicoot, plus Jak and Daxter on the PlayStations 1 and 2, video game developer Naughty Dog set about making a completely new game, with realistic human characters and gameplay suitable for the upcoming PlayStation 3. Little did they know that it would become one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time.
How long have we been chasing this thing?
Long time.
Real long time. Just you and me.
The team decided that they wanted an action-adventure title that had themes of mystery and what-if scenarios. And they took inspiration from movie franchises like National Treasure.
Tell me what the next clue is.
And Indiana Jones.
So, we will do this old-fashioned way.
As for the protagonist, video game director Amy Hennig felt that a tenacious and resourceful main character would prove more likable than a heavily armored, tough-as-nails hero with a large weapon. Fun fact, in terms of looks and appearance, Naughty Dog based the model for its main character on actor Harrison Ford, and none other than MTV daredevil Johnny Knoxville from Jackass. Yeah, really.
Concussions aren't great, but as long as you have them before you're 50, it's cool. And Knoxville's 49, so we're good.
Supporting characters were included to add depth and emotion to the story, while a vibrant island setting would immerse the player and encourage exploration. Under the codename Project Big, Naughty Dog revealed its first trailer for their new title at E3 2006. The studio was up to something big. Literally. Inevitable comparisons were drawn to existing Tomb Raider games, even earning Naughty Dog's creation the nickname Dude Raider. But the comparisons were swiftly brushed aside by the development team, who saw their game as having more third-person cover-based play with greater puzzle-solving elements.
Hey!
In July 2007, Naughty Dog and Sony released an Uncharted Drake's Fortune motion comic to promote their new title. It was split into 2 episodes and depicted events from the first few chapters of the upcoming game. Then in November 2007, Uncharted Drake's Fortune finally hit store shelves in North America, exclusive to the PlayStation 3. The rest of the world had to wait until December. Combining elements of platforming with third-person shooter mechanics and collectibles, players took control of Nathan Drake, an assumed descendant of the great English explorer Sir Francis Drake, who seeks the lost treasure of El Dorado. Encountering many obstacles and enemies along the way, the engaging plot is brought to life with realistic and often humorous characters, like Nathan Drake himself.
Die now, or help you, and die later. Oh, it's a tough call, but you know what? I'll take die now.
Journalist Elena Fisher,
I doubt you're gonna find El Dorado in there.
and Drake's friend and mentor, Victor Sullivan.
You're a real gentleman, Sully.
I know. It stinks. She'll get over it.
Gameplay includes a wide range of weaponry, brutally satisfying hand-to-hand combat, and vehicle segments, on top of the intriguing scenery, all of which help keep the player engaged and having fun from start to finish. Meanwhile, features such as stealth and cover systems, 6-axis controller integration, and the lack of a health bar on screen increased the level of immersion for gamers. There was no multiplayer mode, but reward points gained by collecting up to 60 hidden treasures and completing certain tasks could be used to unlock in-game bonuses, like alternate costumes and unlimited ammunition, or behind-the-scenes developer content, like videos and concept art. Uncharted: Drake's Fortune was a commercial and critical success, selling over 2.6 million copies worldwide. It even exceeded every Jak and Daxter game in number of copies sold. It also received an impressive score of 88 out of 100 on Metacritic. Cheat Code Central said in their review, quote, "From the adventure-filled gameplay to the pristine presentation, each of Uncharted's 20 chapters are polished to perfection and will leave you counting the days to the inevitable sequel." Many reviewers complimented the game's visuals and dialogue. Kotaku and IGN both named Drake's Fortune their PlayStation 3 Game of the Year. In October 2009, another Uncharted motion comic was announced by writer and game designer Neil Druckmann, the same Neil Druckmann who would later become the creative director of The Last of Us and its controversial sequel. Titled Uncharted: Eye of Indra, the motion comic was set before the events of Drake's Fortune, and this time consisted of 4 5-minute episodes. Prior to the release of the first game, Naughty Dog had already announced plans to turn Uncharted into a series, so it came as little surprise, but still extremely welcome, when Uncharted 2 Among Thieves came out in October 2009 as well. With a setting this time inspired by the historic travels of Marco Polo throughout Asia, players once again took control of Nathan Drake. Joining our protagonist this time was Indian-Australian treasure hunter and thief for hire, Chloe Fraser. The story follows the pair in their search for the entrance to the lost city of Shambhala, as they get swept up in a race against a Serbian war criminal called Zoran Lazarevic, who's hunting for a mythical health-giving object, the Sintamani Stone. The plot of Among Thieves takes place 2 years after the events of Drake's Fortune. It features the same combination of stealth, 3D platforming, and third-person shooter elements seen in the first game, but mechanics such as climbing were greatly improved, allowing the player to explore environments in a much more free-form and realistic manner. Most notably, both competitive and co-op multiplayer were introduced for the sequel, with the latter permitting up to 3 players to choose from 5 main characters to complete team-based objectives. Competitive multiplayer included 4 game modes: Deathmatch, Plunder, Elimination, and Chain Reaction, with a maximum of 10 players playing in any match at one time. Multiple DLC packs were released for the game, including gold weapons and various character skins, many of which were later included in a 2010 Game of the Year edition, which also featured the Uncharted Eye of Indra motion comic episodes. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves was showered with love by critics in the form of perfect scores. It's no wonder the game had such an impressive score of 96 out of 100. This makes it one of the highest rated games of all time on Metacritic and puts Uncharted 2 in the same ballpark as amazing titles like Grand Theft Auto 5.
Daddy was not nice to me!
The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and Elden Ring.
Well, a lowly tarnished, playing as a lord, I command thee now!
Critics are calling Uncharted 2 Among Thieves a masterpiece, and it's easy to see why. The game features jaw-dropping visuals, set pieces that will leave you on the edge of your seat, and a cast of characters that are as likable as they are flawed. The French version of PlayStation 3 magazine even gave the game its first ever 21 out of 20, concluding that a new milestone has been reached in video game history. Among Thieves went on to sell over 6.5 million copies, far outselling its predecessor, and won countless awards, including Game of the Year, Best Graphics, Best Writing, and Best Audio. Fun fact, the developers included a cool Easter egg in Uncharted 2 as a nod to the real-life game of swimming pool tag called Marco Polo. If you jump into the pool at a certain point in the game, this hidden dialogue occurs.
Hey, check it out. Marco.
Really?
Come on.
No.
Marco.
Polo.
To promote the next game in the series, Sony teamed up with Spike TV to present a one-off reality game show called Uncharted 3: Race to the Ring. Described as a blockbuster TV special, it aired in 2011 and saw contestants compete in various challenges in order to win an Uncharted-themed prize package, which included a Sony home theater system valued at over $12,000. To compete on the show, contestants were required to complete a questionnaire that not only contained personal questions, but also asked questions relating to the video game series, such as, which Uncharted character are you most like and why? And what do you have in common with Nathan Drake? Fun fact, Subway partnered with Uncharted to create a special promotion for both Subway and Uncharted 3.
Get in on the Subway Taste for Adventure for a chance to win
Poor Nathan. He's walked away empty-handed from treasure hunting so much, he resorted to doing Subway commercials to make money.
Ow!
Continuing the game per 2-year cycle, in November 2011, Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception was released exclusively for the PlayStation 3. The quest this time involved Nathan Drake and Victor Sullivan, aka Nate and Sully, searching for the lost city known as Irem of the Pillars, or the Atlantis of the Sands. A new character named Charlie Cutter was introduced, bearing a striking resemblance to real-life actor Jason Statham. And while Cutter is initially portrayed as a bad guy, he's soon revealed to be an English fortune hunter and a friend of Drake's. The game's setting takes place across deserts and urban landscapes, with Naughty Dog wanting to include locations that were different from previous entries in the series. As for the plot, it's loosely based on the life of famous archaeologist Thomas Edward Lawrence, otherwise known as Lawrence of Arabia. Uncharted 3's development team doubled down on openness and realism, conducting field research for better visual environments and sounds while increasing the amount of motion capture and voice acting used.
Come on, give me a hand with this.
An advanced melee combat system now allowed Drake to face multiple enemies at once, and players could use their surroundings for creative takedowns. For example, they could smash a bottle into an opponent's face, pull the pin on a grenade attached to an enemy's waist, or perform a takedown from above by dropping from a ledge. The game's multiplayer was expanded to include new weapons and game types, in addition to weapon and character customization. Maps became more dynamic and interesting, while new features such as metal kickbacks and power plays were completely new to the franchise. Drake's Deception is also notable for being one of the first titles to make use of the online PlayStation Network Pass feature. Critics were unanimous in their praise for Uncharted 3, giving it a score of 92 out of 100. Many review outlets gave it a perfect score and numerous awards, including Best Visuals and Game of the Year. But that's no wonder, with many great adventure moments in the game, like the plane scene that is one of the most exhilarating and intense scenes in gaming history. I mean, even Indiana Jones would be impressed by this scene. The plane scene also came back in the Uncharted movie, but more on that later. One Up said in their review of Uncharted 3, in some ways, it helps to think of Toy Story 3 or The Lord of the Rings the Return of the King when explaining Uncharted 3. Similar to this third game, both films are satisfying final acts that deliver entertaining and unique stories with respect to their previous installments. Uncharted 3 was a tremendous commercial success. On day one alone, 3.8 million copies were sold. In total, more than 6.5 million copies have been sold. But it's no wonder that the game is so successful, considering Nathan Drake is the video game industry's answer to Indiana Jones. Fun fact, if you've played Uncharted 3 and thought that the character of Charlie Cutter was cut from the game too soon, the real reason is that voice actor Graham McTavish had other commitments and had to leave the project early. In fact, he had to go to New Zealand for the Hobbit films.
Loyalty, honor, a willing heart. I can ask no more than that.
McTavish had previously voiced Zoran Lazarevic for the main antagonist from Uncharted 2, and was due to reprise his role as Cutter in Uncharted 4, but unfortunately his part was cut. Yet again. I guess his name in the game really does him justice. Oh well, at least we can see him shine in House of the Dragon. Uncharted Golden Abyss was a spin-off title released for the PS Vita in February 2012. It served as a prequel, set an unspecified amount of time before the events of Drake's fortune, and followed Drake in his search for the lost city of Quivira. In the game, he is aided by fellow treasure hunter Jason Dante and archaeologist Marissa Chase. Critics were generally positive about Golden Abyss, praising the game's technical quality as a handheld title, although there were some concerns regarding the game's below-par touchscreen controls and narrative. Still, it registered a score of 80 on Metacritic and sold over 1.6 million copies in total. Also for the PS Vita in 2012 came Uncharted Fight for Fortune, a digital collectible card game that allowed players to engage in turn-based matches using cards themed upon characters and elements from the series, with the aim of reducing their opponent's health to 0. Mike Rose from Pocket Gamer called it a fun little time waster, but also noted that it is riddled with issues. Overall, it became the worst rated game in the franchise with a score of 67. It's clear Sony lost its fight for fortune with this title. Quickly moving on. In October 2015, the franchise was brought to life on the PlayStation 4 with the release of Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection. That's right, folks, you can now relive the adventures of everyone's favorite treasure hunter in stunning HD. Developed by Blue Point Games, the collection featured remastered versions of the single-player story modes from all three of the main Uncharted titles. There was no multiplayer content, but most critics agreed that updates to the original game's visuals, plus improvements to the trilogy's controls, made the Nathan Drake Collection something worthwhile. Not to mention a great introduction to the series for newcomers. God is a Geek was a big fan and said, quote, "An utterly essential bundle for newcomers and veterans alike, thanks to the sheer value for money and huge technical improvements to the three already incredible games." Sam Byford from The Verge called it the perfect way to get yourself up to speed before Uncharted 4, A Thief's End drops next year. The collection was praised and received a score of 86. It also became a commercial success, with over 5 million copies sold worldwide. Fun fact, Uncharted is one of the best-selling video game franchises. But can you guess how many copies have been sold in total? A, 27 million, B, 41 million, or C, 61 million? I'll give you a hint. It's very close to Nathan Drake's age in Uncharted 4.
There's gotta be another way. I need you on this one.
Speaking of which, Naughty Dog's fourth main entry into the series and first original game on the PlayStation 4 debuted in May 2016. Named Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, it's a sequel set 3 years after the conclusion of the third game. Nathan Drake is now a retired fortune hunter, but must set off on one final adventure to save his long-lost brother, Samuel, from a ruthless tyrant. A quest that also happens to involve finding Captain Henry Avery's fabled pirate treasure. Taking over development of the game from long-term writer Amy Hennig and Uncharted director Justin Richmond were Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley. both of whom had previously worked on the first 2 Uncharted games, as well as The Last of Us. A central focus of A Thief's End is the relationship between protagonist Nathan Drake and his longtime love interest, Elena. Naughty Dog wanted to humanize these characters, more so than in previous games, and considered Nathan a reflection of their own mentalities, having grown older and matured in both age and wisdom. The game's title alludes to the fact that it is likely the last in the series, as Naughty Dog confirmed they felt there was nowhere else to take the characters anymore. Gameplay elements in A Thief's End remained largely the same as in previous titles, though they were refined and updated to better fit the hardware of the PlayStation 4. In-game environments include jungle, urban, and aquatic areas, with climbing a key focus. Drake is equipped with a collapsible grappling hook that allows him to swing to new areas, avoid enemy fire, or close gaps and attack enemies. It can also be used to rappel down rock faces. Melee combat was improved once again, with enemies now reacting much more realistically by countering Drake's attacks and attempting to use weapons during fistfights. A new system alerting players to enemies that can see Drake was also introduced, with Drake and AI companions able to tag enemies they can see as well. The use of fully operable vehicles returns for the first time since the jet ski seen in Uncharted Drake's Fortune, with multiple paths and destructible environments leading to much more dynamic scenarios. Multiplayer contains new features like mystic deployables that are reminiscent of the supernatural powers seen in previous games. Plus, players can call in backup units known as sidekicks. If this truly is the last game in the series, Naughty Dog made sure it went out with a bang, as Uncharted 4: A Thief's End received critical acclaim and achieved an amazing score of 94, according to Metacritic. At the end of 2016, over 8.7 million copies of the game had been sold, making it the best-selling game in the franchise. In 2022, Uncharted 4 was re-released for the PlayStation 5 and Microsoft Windows as part of the Legacy of Thieves collection, allowing gamers to play the legendary prison escape scene in 4K.
Stick to the plan.
Yeah, don't celebrate yet. That's right. Let's keep searching over there. Don't mind us. There it is.
Come on! And don't drop the cross.
All right, keep going. Right behind you.
It's no wonder many critics call it a masterpiece with scenes like this. Darkstation said, "It's an absolute treasure that combines action and story in a beautiful concert that I never wanted to end. It's one of the rare games that, years from now, I know I will remember exactly where I was when the credits rolled. And I said goodbye to Nathan Drake, one of the most prolific video game characters of all time. Bravo, Naughty Dog. Bravo."
Sam, no. No, you hold on! Hold on! Sam! Give me your other arm! Come on, reach! No! Sam!
Uncharted 4 also won countless awards, including Adventure Game of the Year by the DICE Awards and Game of the Year by Titanium Awards. Fun fact, there is an Easter egg of Crash Bandicoot in Uncharted 4. Since both titles have been made by Naughty Dog, Crash Bandicoot appears as a video game that can be played on the PlayStation 1 by none other than Nathan Drake.
Okay, run away from the boulder.
Why is the boulder chasing me?
Just run away from it.
It really goes full circle, as Crash and Coco can also be seen playing Uncharted 4. A free-to-play Uncharted mobile game was developed by PlayStation with the help of Naughty Dog and was published by Sony in May 2016 for iOS and Android devices, titled Uncharted Fortune Hunter. It was a companion spin-off title for Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. It comprised over 200 levels and puzzles the player had to clear, and it encouraged players to complete objectives to obtain prizes they could use in the multiplayer mode of A Thief's End on console. If you hadn't previously heard of Fortune Hunter and were hoping to bag some prizes for yourself, it's not possible any longer since the mobile game was shut down in March 2022. While the main games with Drake as a protagonist might have come to an end, the Uncharted story continues to be fleshed out with spin-offs and appearances through other media.
Go get him, ladies!
Uncharted: The Lost Legacy is an action-adventure video game developed by Naughty Dog that was released in August 2017 for the PlayStation 4. Set 6 to 12 months after the conclusion of A Thief's End, it is a standalone game that follows the adventures of Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross as they scout India to uncover the Tusk of Ganesh. They must also keep the tusk out of the hands of a ruthless war profiteer named Asav. Naughty Dog chose to center the game around the character of Chloe, as they found her interesting, stating that her moral compass is a little bit less directed than Nathan's. The developers also felt she would need a partner with military expertise, and that Nadine would be desperate for more work following the events of Uncharted 4. So the game designers reworked the combat mechanics of Uncharted to better fit Chloe's size and fighting style, with Chloe being more of a martial artist than a brawler. Overall, the game managed to retain the Uncharted experience without its iconic protagonist and proved to be a hit with fans and critics. It has a score of 84 on Metacritic, and over 2.4 million copies have been sold. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was remastered and included alongside Uncharted 4 as part of the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection released in 2022. GameRant called the bundle a fantastic collection that greatly enhances two top-tier games, while Game Revolution said, "From overall presentation to the polished gameplay, this is still single-player gaming at its finest, now made shinier." It's an easy flex for PS5, but that doesn't make it any less of a must-play for those who missed out on the last-gen launch or hardcore fans who want to scrutinize every pore on Nate and Friends' higher-resolution faces. Overall, the Legacy of Thieves collection scored slightly higher than The Lost Legacy, with a score of 87 on Metacritic. For fans craving more Uncharted action, several comics and books have been written based on the video game series. In 2018, an Uncharted live-action fan film appeared on YouTube, directed by Alan Ungar and starring Nathan Fillion. It was very well received, having been viewed over 11 million times and liked by over 500,000 people. Some have theorized that the character of Nathan Drake was actually based on actor Nathan Fillion, since they have the same first name, and the resemblance is uncanny. Those people, plus Fillion himself, were likely disappointed when Sony released the official Uncharted movie in 2022, starring none other than Tom Holland in the lead role, also featuring Mark Wahlberg as Sully. It finds the two on a treasure hunt for the fortune amassed by Ferdinand Magellan and lost 500 years ago by the House of Moncada. The action-adventure film failed to capture the same level of excitement of the franchise for many fans, receiving an average rating of 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb from more than 200,000 reviews. However, it was a commercial success for Sony, after bringing in over $400 million at the box office with a budget of $120 million. Not bad for the first feature production of Sony's PlayStation Productions. Fun fact, Nolan North, the voice actor for Nathan Drake in the video games, makes a cameo in the 2022 movie as a hotel guest lounging on a beach. I love how he says that something like that happened to him once, clearly referring to his portrayals of Nathan Drake in Uncharted 3. For fans of the series, this was probably the best part of the movie.
Whoa, what the hell happened to you two?
Fell out of a car that fell out of a plane?
Huh. Hey, you know, something like that happened to me once.
Okay.
Good luck.
We're excited to announce that we are currently building a blog for Flatlife. And if you want to create a professional website yourself, we would highly recommend Squarespace. They offer powerful blogging tools to categorize, share, and schedule posts. Plus, they have amazing extensions that allow you to manage inventory and promote products. Perfect for anyone that's looking to start a successful business online. If you want to create a website, look no further. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, Go to www.squarespace.com/flatlife to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. How the Uncharted franchise will continue remains a mystery, but I'm sure Naughty Dog will develop more fantastic action-adventure games for the series in the near future. In the meantime, why not check out some other amazing franchises I've covered on this channel, like God of War? And thanks for watching.